Welcome back to HPL, or the PvP live studios here in Frisco, Texas. And we just saw Powder take the first step back towards that reverse sweep here. Superjj won the first 2 games. Powder just got back on the board.
Yeah, I mean, Powder just putting together a massive turn towards the end. I mean, we've seen Pin Patron deliver the full 30 multiple times so far in HPL. I mean, who is going to stop this deck, you know? Maybe it's going to be Druid. Maybe that's one of the reasons it's had such a fantastic record. I think it's because of Innervates. But Game 4 Superjj versus Powder is getting underway right now. And Powder swapping it over now. A resilient aggro deck, I think, is perfectly suited to fend off against what Superjj is trying to do.
Yeah, Superjj going back with Rogue here. This is not really one of the matchups you always want to see, and Ruby and Eggs can spell a lot of problems for you in these games. Ironbeak Owl, not that strong though. Out of the Warlock deck here, not a ton of great targets in Superjj's deck unless he gets something like a Piloted Shredder early.
Yeah, and Superjj's hand, not too bad either, though. You know, he's got a couple tools. We'll get his perspective up as soon as we can. But Powder's hand's coming together very nicely. Now, Ruby and Egg, a very difficult minion to deal with. You know, when you're playing in Superjj's kind of position here, stuff like Blade Flurry really gets nullified a lot by stuff like Ruby and Egg. It also threatens your minions and, you know, put together bigger stuff on the board. And Powder, this game has gone beautifully early on. Turn 2 Ruby and Egg, turn 3 Imp Gang Boss, and 2 Knife Jugglers to back it up.
You know, this is actually one of my favorite decks in all of Hearthstone right now. I've been playing with it a ton lately, and the deck is actually just very, very good. Yes. The Warlock deck here.
Yeah. This is sort of one of the powers of Imp Gang Boss, too, by the way. It occupies a lot of your opponent's resources to put them in some kind of uncomfortable positions. Superjj, you know, backstab SI7 agent, one of the best rogue turns that you can get, but he's going to be facing down a little bit of damage here. Powder has an opportunity to maybe really get this game rolling completely out of control, too. I mean, the Bane of Doom pickup, plus the Doom Guard in his hand, plus an Ironbeak Owl for maybe something like a Piloted Shredder moving forward. His hand has developed very nicely.
Yeah, his hand is going to be great. We've seen Bane of Doom single-handedly win games as well. Depending on what you get off of it, you can really turn an entire game around.
Yeah, I'm going to play Knife Juggler here just to try to get some threats rolling. Isn't too concerned with getting a lot of damage out of the Knife Jugglers. This is, I think, a matchup where it's not the most terribly important thing. And then here does have a little bit of a decision in front of him, though, because, you know, in this position, this Imp can trade into this SI7 agent and set up a Bane of Doom next turn. If Superjj's got a way to deal with this Knife Juggler, so love that he's attacking here.
Love this attack. The 1 damage probably isn't going to matter much. Now, from Powder side, you're seeing him be really patient and just play his minions as if he doesn't care. Some people might hold back the Knife Juggler there, trying to get more value from it. I like this play. Your deck is very resilient. You want to just keep putting things on the board, make Superjj trade or answer everything, because the longer he's doing that, he's not attacking your life total, and you get to turn that into extra cards as the game goes along.
Yeah, now, at this point, when he does it this way, I have to assume that this SI7 agent's trading into the Knife Juggler. Yeah, very heads-up play. You saw him react to that turn, too, like thinking to himself, why would Powder attack with an Imp in this position? The answer to that is probably something like Bane of Doom or Abusive Sergeant. So he wants to make sure he nullifies as many of those as he can. Pitches away Defender of Argus and Abusive Sergeant to deal with this Lothep. So Powder really showing you that he knows exactly how this game plan works as well. You know, Rogue, very strong when it gets a minion on board and then is able to go into its turn. That's really where it can punish you. He does not want that to happen to him in this game.
Yeah, if Rogue ever gets a minion to stick around, it usually spells, you know, your death here. Now, Powder, he just runs in and takes care of the Lothep there. To love the play from him, and you're seeing here the thing that he's Nerubian Eggs, dude, this Fan of Knives. Now there's only 1 damage left on this Nerubian Egg. It's gonna be really hard to cast another Fan of Knives or something like a Blade Flurry for the rest of the game.
Yeah, so really love the play here from Superjj, too. Doesn't play the Azure Drake and then prep the Fan of Knives because the extra spell damage would kill the Nerubian Egg, and he doesn't want that to be active right now, so love that he played in that order. Does force him to take 5 damage in the meantime, but I think keeping the 4/4 off the board is just more than worth it.
Yeah, and you see Powder actually Ironbeak Owl, this Azure Drake. There is a Piloted Shredder for him to Ironbeak Owl in Superjj's hand, but he doesn't know that. The Knife actually goes upstairs. Powder getting a little bit of damage there, but he needs to just develop his board now. His hand is getting a little heavy. He has a Dr. Boom, a Void Caller, and a Bane of Doom in his hand. He needs to start getting things on the board and get something rolling.
This is a great looking turn for Superjj as well. The one that instinctively shows up to me is Azure Drake into the Knife Juggler. Use your hero power to take out the Ironbeak Owl, and then Earthen Ring Farseer to heal back up the Azure Drake and keep it out of range of stuff like Bane of Doom, Implosion, Abusive Sergeant on the Nerubian Egg to run into it, Mortal Coil, everything gets protected by that. And your life total is important, but it's not so paramount that the 3 points of health I think needs to be invested at this point.
Yeah, and as you put it perfectly with the Nerubian Egg, he's going to be very conscious on keeping his minions out of range of Nerubian Egg, getting any value off of him. Something like Abusive Sergeant, Defender of Argus, you can't really play around Power Overwhelming. That's just a little too good. That's just a little too good. But the other ones you can play around a little bit and not present anything to Powder that gives him a good chance to do that. And as a byproduct of playing around that, you get to play around Bane of Doom at the same time.
Yeah, this is beautiful. Actually, just going to go with the Edwin Van Cleef.
Yeah, I like this play as well.
Really like this as well.
Get some threats.
Yeah, the more damage he gets on the board and the more stuff that Powder has to deal with, I think it's the better for him. Because Powder right now, he has a Dr. Boom turn and he can Bane of Doom, but he has to be worried about how many threats are happening right now. And what's the best way to handle that? Well, I think it's to hope the boom bots end up killing some of these threats. But he's under a lot of pressure right now. I mean, there's a potential that this board can swing completely out of control here.
Yeah, Superjj's got some pretty interesting top decks in this deck. He already has 2 of his Tinker Sharpset oils, and you're going to see him really push onto it here.
Yeah, he's got 20 points of damage this turn, and unless he thinks that Powder can really come correct with a lot of damage, he's going to push it all to the dome. He's already seen a Defender of Argus get taken out.
Powder needs 10 extra damage here, and he has a Doom Guard in his hand. Can he do it? Because he is dead next turn almost no matter what he does here.
He needs to have these boom bots roll perfectly, I think, if he's going to win this game. I mean, he's down to 6, and he has no way to defend against this. This looks like step 1 is going to be life tap and then figure this out. I mean, he cannot fend off just the dagger damage alone is 6 points of damage. So unless he can fight off that, he has to figure out how he wins this turn.
Yeah, he has to find something like maybe Voidwalker. I'm not sure, but if he life taps and finds Voidwalker, he can still he can still play Doom Guard. Okay, that's one of the first
7,
things
8,
for him.
9. I mean, he wouldn't have enough damage to really take everything out now. I mean,
he
could get about Ganis.
He could pick up a couple things off Bane of Doom here that keep him alive.
Well, that's about the worst one you can get possible. So Powder not going to be able to win this game unless for some reason.
Defender of Argus would have been so good earlier in the turn.
Yeah, I mean, he still would have had to be worried about stuff like Eviscerate, Blade Flurry, just anything that can take out this damage moving forward. He's just going to hope that Superjj has no, doesn't see the 6 points damage to go to face. He does see it though, and he's going to take out Powder in this series. 3 games to 1. What a game from Superjj. Able to recognize that the pressure on board was the most important thing for him to get. He got that pressure out. Powder couldn't answer it immediately, and as a result, Superjj is able to push through massive damage and take out Powder.
Yeah, getting that Edwin Van Cleef on the board, even as a 4/4, guys, you should do that a lot of times. Yeah. Even it's only a 4/4, but it deals
only a 3-mana 4/4.
So much damage over the span of the game with something like Tinker Sharpset Oil. If you can get 1 minion to stick around in those rogue games, they're usually going to be able to do enough damage to win because they're usually good for like 8 to 12 damage, and then a Blade Fury usually cleans up the rest.
Yeah, if you can stay 1 step ahead, it's so important. You say just a 3-mana 4/4.
Yeah.
But the other 3-mana 4/4s you have to go with, stuff like Ogre Brute, there's only a 50% chance that he attacks the target that you want him to attack. That's typically the kind of drawback that's involved with 3-mana 4/4. So Edwin Van Cleef is a 3-mana 4/4. I assure you, it doesn't need to be a 14/14 like a lot of you guys want to make it.
Don't want to get it BGH'd.
Yeah. Keep it as a 6/6 if you want to then. Wow, what a series from Superjj. Able to really pick off Powder strategies, I think, here, and target him. That was something I think that it's not only something he's been doing very well, but something that was available for him in this match versus Powder, because Powder will play those strategies that kind of line up exactly how you think the metagame is going to roll. He's going to play what he believes are the most powerful strategies, and that's an opportunity for his opponent to then adjust to that and play decks that are going to be good versus that range of options.
Yeah, we've seen this time and time again from Superjj so far here in HPL. He's looked great in every match, including the one that he lost to Dog. He's been queuing up so well against his opponents. He looks like he's very prepared for every one of his matches.